Okay, here we are. UFC 276 Cannonier versus Adesanya. Probably the best pay-per-view card of the year thus far. I'm going to say 3 amazing fights. There's so many interesting matchups on here. Obviously, thankfully, only one fight really got cancelled now. It was the Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate fight. But in terms of no disrespect to those two interesting fights, but two interesting fighters in a good fight, but wasn't really all that devastated for that one, to be honest. But, it is what it is. And obviously, they haven't replaced it either, so it will just be the 4 fights on the main card as opposed to 5. But the main card's fantastic, amazing main event, a brilliant co-main, and again, even the Strickland Pereira fight, the O'Malley and Munoz and the Brian Barberina and Lawler fight, all brilliant fights. And then I'm talking then, even if you go to early prelims, I don't know what order these are going to be. Sometimes they get switched around, but you got Jessica Ai and Macy Barber. Not a great fight, because Macy Barber, no respect, she's a good prospect, but she sometimes, her striking's a bit rough to watch. But then you've also got Uriah Hall and Andre Muniz, Andre Muniz is a very, live player in that middleweight division, so another interesting fight. And then if you go on to the prelims, you got Brad Riddell versus Jalen Turner. Brad Riddell, up and coming somewhat. He's obviously very 30 years old, so he's not old, and he's in the prime. Got Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone, which is always a fun one. Ian Gary, who's on the cump. I'm not really that impressed by him, but he still looked decent recently, and against Gabe Green, and Brad Tavares against Dricus Duplessis. So some good fights overall in the card. I give them credit. They tend to go hard on one card, and it looks like this is the card that they're going hard on, to be honest. So many great fights. Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone, a really good fight as well. But there's so many to talk about. I think what I'm going to do is focus on 4 of the 5 on the main card. The other one I'm not going to focus on is the Robbie Lawler and Brian Barberina fight. It's a great fight, Robbie Lawler at 40 still doing his thing, and Brian Barberina always comes to scrap. But I think the 4 fights, so obviously the fights I want to focus on are the main event, the co-main, the Strickland Pereira and the Munoz and O'Malley, because I feel like all those have implications for their divisions, and they're the ones I will go most in depth, because I think there's more to talk about than those ones. So yeah, but in terms of Lawler and Barberina, a great scrap. I think Barberina will take it. Personally, I think Barberina's always a dog and always comes to fight. And Robbie Lawler, I love him to him, but he's a legend. He's done enough. I don't think anything will change anybody's opinion of Robbie Lawler, what happens in this fight. So God bless him, not 40, he's still doing his thing, so you got to respect it. But the ones I want to focus on, like I said, is O'Malley, Munoz, Strickland Pereira, Volkov, Holloway and Adesanya Cannonier. But we're going to start off with Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz, a brilliant fight. Finally, Sean O'Malley is getting tested against a very decent opponent. Obviously, had the fight with Chito Vera, which he was doing well, but just kind of lost it because I think the calf kick kind of affected him and his foot went. But yeah, I really like Sean O'Malley. I know a lot of people don't like him. They say he obviously hasn't fought many ranked opponents yet. But you know what? I think he's entertaining to watch Sean O'Malley. I really like watching him in there. I understand why people may find him a bit polarizing because of the whole thing with his hair and the way he is. But to me, I always judge the fighter, not the person. And he's amazing to watch. His striking is so clean. If you watch him now compared to a few years ago, like when he's on the Contender Series, he looks so much more just cleaner now to watch. And yeah, I'm interested to see how this one goes, to be honest. Pedro Munoz, a few years ago, was up there, not fighting for a belt, but he looked like he could have been in the title picture, but obviously things didn't exactly go away. If you look at Pedro Munoz's last couple, obviously had the loss against Dominic Cruz, which did surprise me, but then also lost against Jose Aldo, so he lost to 2 vets, but then did beat Jimmy Rivera. So again, he's a bit up and down, Pedro Munoz, but I think it's a great test for O'Malley. O'Malley, again, they kind of sometimes give him guys who you just don't really know all that much about sometimes, so this is why I think it can get frustrating. But yeah, an interesting fight. I think O'Malley at range is very, very dangerous. Obviously, his last fight was against uh, Rolian Pavia, I forget. But then he also had the Chris Martinez fight, which was a one-sided beatdown, but Martinez did show a lot of heart. And the other one was that fantastic finish against Thomas Almeida. So only one loss to Chito Vera, but he's done well regardless. And I think a good test for him to see where he is. I think for the division it'd be good if he won, because I think he's a very exciting striker, and I think he's definitely building his name. Only 27, so he's still young. People do tend to forget this. But yeah, I like O'Malley, and I think for my prediction, I think he needs to keep it along, but I think he'll beat Munoz, to be honest with you. I think Munoz he kind of has to stay in the pocket, and O'Malley does brilliantly as sort of staying just out of range, but he's still in range to hit you. He's very smart, uses his range and his length very well, and I think that's a problem for Munoz. I don't think he'd be able to really get near him. I don't think O'Malley finishes him. I think Munoz is a dog, and I think it'd be hard for him to get out there. But I do think that O'Malley will get the decision win this one. He always tends to go for the finish. I understand it, but I think it'd be good for him to get the 3 rounds. I think the Chris Martinez fight was the one where they stopped it in the third, where he probably could have continued, but more of a mercy stoppage, that one. But I'd interesting fight this one though. For that bantamweight division, is my favourite division in MMA at the moment, and I think personally, I don't see. I don't know. I should O'Malley win this. There's a few good fights out there for him. You're looking at maybe a Dominic Cruz Aldo, maybe a Rob Font, maybe a rematch with Chito Vera. Who knows? I think there's so many interesting fights out there for him. So I'm interested to see how he goes along. Frankie Edgar also is still there, so there's a few in there. Obviously, I think Ricky Simon or Simone, he was supposed to fight him, but obviously that never happened. And it's a good division. You also got Umar Magomedov in that division. Not saying that O'Malley should fight him, but he's also a live player. So there's a lot of amazing talent in that division, and I think I'd be interested to see how his fight goes for O'Malley. He needs to, like I said, keep it at range. For Munoz, if he is to win, I think mix up with the grappling. Just make it a horrible fight for O'Malley. You're not going to beat him in a clean fight. You need to really make it dirty in there, and I think to me, it's Munoz's best chance to win that fight is to do that. But I think it'd be a rough one for him. So but I think O'Malley takes this one, and like I said, maybe a Rob Font, maybe a Dominic Cruz, somebody like that, or a Chito Vera, maybe the winner of that. Frankie Edgar, I don't know. There's some options out there, but it'd be good for the division, I think, if he wins. No disrespect to Pedro Munoz, but I think it's good if the younger fighter can kind of show that he's in there. So so Sean O'Malley for me takes that one, and then moving up the card, you got Sean Strickland and Alex Pereira. Obviously, Sean Strickland on a good run at the moment. His record obviously is 25-3, 31 Strickland. So he's not actually. I thought he'd be older, but he's still relatively young, I would say. Beat Jack Hermanson in his last fight, which was a horrendous fight. But he's good. I think he's not brilliant to watch. He beat Uriah Hall not that long ago as well, but Strickland's a funny one. He's a little bit like a Kevin Holland in that he doesn't shut up, but he's entertaining. He's a fantastic character, and I think it's good to have him in there. Personally, I don't have any ill feelings. I think he's a good fighter. He isn't the most entertaining, which I think is which I think can be the problem at times with him. But to me, either way, as long as you win, I don't think it's much of an issue. He's been working a long time, and I do kind of feel like with him, he's it isn't like a Derek Brunson thing where I kind of look at you and I feel like he's almost overachieving. I think he's beating the guys that he probably should be beating, and I think the Hermanson one was horrendous. He kind of fights behind a pretty basic boxing stance. His takedown offense is pretty decent, but not great to watch Sean Strickland. But I do like him. I think he's a good character, and his last fight was horrendous against Hermanson, I won't lie, but either way, he got the job, and that's what he's there to do. And against Alex Pereira, who obviously new to the UFC, has been on a good streak. Obviously, he's known for knocking out Israel Adesanya in the when they fought in kickboxing, and at 34, he's a late rising to MMA, but he's doing good. Obviously, he's hasn't lost yet. Will beat Bruno Silva, Ambry. This is a name and a half. Andreas Michaelidis. I don't know how to say it, but did good in his last two. So obviously, third fight now in the UFC, and I think if he beats Strickland, I think he'll get fast track to that title shot. To be honest, because who else is there? Whitaker's still to fight. I think him and Victoria are gonna fight. Costa's in there, but I don't know what he's doing, to be honest. Him and Luke Rockhouse supposed to be fine, but we don't know. Brunson just lost her. There's nobody there, so I think the winner of this should actually get a title shot, to be honest. I don't see who else there is that really sticks out to me. So, yeah, an interesting one, though. For Pereira, it would be a great story if he can beat... for him, actually, it would be good if he maybe could win, because I think it would be more entertaining fight than Adesanya Strickland would be, or I know Kanye could beat him, but I think that UFC are kind of hoping Pereira and Adesanya win these fights, because it would set up such an intriguing fight. And Pereira has scary power, whether it's his hands or his kicks or his knees. He's very, very powerful, and looking physically, he just looks very solid. And I think Strickland will have a hard one in this one to try and keep away from that power. I do think with Strickland, he's very long, and I think he'll use that to his advantage. But, with Pereira being a kickboxer, you don't really want to have a clean fight with him, or even a war to an extent. You kind of have to mix it up. And the only thing with Pereira, he has shown a little bit of a liability with his takedowns, but Strickland's never been a unbelievable wrestler, but I think his wrestling may be enough. So what I think, on my prediction, what I do think is it's going to be a horrible fight. It'll be terrible to watch, but I do think that Sean Strickland will get the decision win. It won't be a nice fight. I think he'll keep him at range a little bit with the jab. I think he'll realise that he isn't really trying to strike with Pereira, and then he may mix in the wrestling. Again, he's not really known for his grappling, Strickland, but I do think he may try and do it in this one, because I don't think he can realistically stand with Pereira and try and go back and forth with him. And he isn't someone who really goes to war. He's quite, like we said, he's quite safe, quite boring at times to watch. So, yeah, I do wonder how he gets in this one. He could drop Pereira a few times, but I don't know. I feel like Alex Pereira is just too dangerous for Strickland to try and really back his striking all the way for 3 rounds. I might be wrong, maybe he does, but I just don't see it. I think Pereira will, if they strike, will make it horrible for him and probably catch him with something, but I don't think that will happen. What I think will happen, I think Strickland will mix it up, and I think we'll try and almost make it a bit of a stalemate and grind his way to a decision. So yeah, I think Sean Strickland gets this done, and then I think he will fight Adesanya. Should Adesanya get it done, obviously he should fight for the belt next. Strickland, he's, like I said, been on a regular, I think, is it 6 in a row now that he's won. It would be 7 if he beats Pereira, so how can you deny him? He's done brilliantly. So I know it's different, but I don't think Whitaker even had that many. He had 3, and he beat 3 amazing guys, but I think it shows that, he should be definitely in there with a shot, Strickland. So yeah, should he win, I think he should get a shot at the belt, and for Pereira, he'll be back. I don't think 34. He's old-ish, but MMA. Robbie Lawler. Look at Robbie Lawler, 40 years old, and he's up there. Look at Blachowicz. There's so many amazing fighters who are kind of still doing their thing at an old age. So Pereira is definitely a very live dog in this division. If he knocks him out, I wouldn't be surprised, but I just think Strickland will just almost coast to a decision and make it a bit ugly. But what are you going to do? But yeah, so I think Sean Strickland gets that one done in the middleweight clash. And then we get into the one that I am looking forward to the most, the co-main event. The third fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Alexander Volkanovski is currently 2-0 up or 2 up against Holloway, beat him 2 times. First time, I think he clearly beat him. I don't know how you can complain it otherwise. The second time was the dubious one. Personally, I thought Volkanovski just edged it. I had 2 rounds to Holloway. The first 2 to Holloway. And I think 3, 4, and 5 I gave to Volkanovski. So, a very close fight, though, for that one. And it made me a little bit... I thought Volkanovski would finish Holloway in that second fight, because I thought Holloway was a little declining a bit. But credit to him, he came back and he looked amazing. And him not sparring, he looked unbelievable in there. And he only continued that against the next fight against Calvin Kattar. So, I think this is going to be a tough one to really call because Volkanovski, likewise, has looked unbelievable in his last few fights. So this one is going to be a hard one to call, really. I think, personally, Volkanovski doesn't get talked about enough. I think he's similar to Usman in a way. Usman never really got the respect, so he started knocking everybody out. So I think Volkanovski, he's starting to get that respect, but I think he needs to start stopping some of these people, and I think then he'll definitely get up there as the pound for pound list. But yeah, I'll be honest, I think it's a hard one, you know. In both fights, Holloway did amazing when he came in at range, but Volkanovski, the way he beat Holloway in his first fight was just kicking the legs and just almost point fighting, and it worked really well. In the in the second fight, he kind of had to grind him a little bit towards the last two, but there were moments where he looked good with the leg kicks. Holloway was missing at times, and Volkanovski was tiring him coming in, so it was a tough one to really score, I think, that second one. But one thing I would say is Holloway against Yair Rodriguez just shows some chinks. He still doesn't really deal with the calf kicks that well, and that's Volkanovski's signature, so that's going to be a hard one, I think, for Holloway to try and deal with. Yeah, and it's a hard one. It's so hard to score. This is the only fight where I really did not have a clue who I was going to score this one to. But I have to make a prediction, and I think it's very close. I think these two are the two best featherweights in the world. I think it's so close between them. I think the first fight, even though Holloway lost, was close at points. I think Volkanovski, whilst he's beaten him twice, has never clearly beaten him twice. And I think, actually, I tell a lie, right? This first one he can see maybe clearly, but it wasn't like he completely made him look like he didn't belong in there with him. It was close. And so in the second fight, it says a lot about Holloway. He dropped Volkanovski twice, so Holloway showed a lot of good moments in that fight. And at times he's picked him apart, and Volkanovski couldn't really get near him. So it does show you that there is a very close gap between these two. I have to make a prediction, or like I said, and I'm going to go. So this is a hard one. I think Volkanovski, again, the calf kicks are good. I think mixing it up, hitting him hard with the kicks, mixing the wrestling is the big part, because he's a very good grappler, Volkanovski, and very powerful. I think if you're Max, you'd be expecting that. But I think for Holloway, what his keys to victory to me is doing what he did in the second fight, keeping him at range, pinging him at range, and trying to land he landed a few. His kicks have been fantastic recently, Holloway, and I think just doing that for the whole fight and almost playing the matador in this fight and trying to maybe walk Volkanovski onto something, because he did that brilliantly, and I think that's what I don't think Volkanovski will do the same thing again, but I do think that is something that Holloway did so well in that second fight. And I think the key is just to maintain it. You know, Volkanovski tried to almost outgrind him. I think just trying to adapt to that and be loose in there. And I think, yeah, it's such a close one. Honestly, I could go all day. It's so tight between these two. Like I said, I think Volkanovski, if he keeps it safe, does the leg kicks, mixes in the wrestling, I think I could see a clear way that he wins. But Holloway, if he keeps it at range, and almost even at times does both, plays the ball and plays the matador, sometimes chases Volkanovski down, and even sometimes picks him apart at range. I do think for Holloway, you need to really bank. He banked the first two. I think if you're a few rounds up, you definitely need to go hard on a few of these rounds just to try and get the judges on it, because they love seeing, judges like seeing, I think, certain things like that, seeing a fighter press forward, and I think doing that. So I think if you're Holloway, you really need to not do it for the whole fight, but really press forward at fights and really try and show the judges that you're the one advancing and trying to win this one. So it's so close. Like I said, it's hard, but I'm going to say that Max Holloway gets this one done and gets the belt. I think it's so close. I think Volkanovski is amazing. I don't know. I think it will be tight. I think in the tight exchanges, though, I think Max will come out on top. When Max goes into like that Super Saiyan mode, like he did in the Calvin Kattar fight, I don't know who beats him, and I'm not saying he won this fight, because I think Volkanovski is elite, but I think he's shown a new level recently, Holloway, and I think in this fight we'll see it, alright? So yeah, I'm going to go with Max Holloway getting this one done. I think Volkanovski's looked unbelievable. He's elite, Volkanovski, but I just think Holloway will do just about enough to get it done, and will be quite, I think it'll be similar, like a 3 rounds to 2. It might be a close one, and I feel like it might be a bit of a Whittaker Adesanya one, where maybe he does just enough Holloway to get that one. Don't remember he gets a knockdown, and that's what kind of clinches it. Because one thing Volkanovski hasn't done, he's never dropped him in any of these fights, and he's powerful, Volkanovski. And Holloway's got a great chin, but I think if he can do that, Volkanovski put something on him early, it would be big. But yeah, I just think that the way Holloway fights, he's so long, so slick. I just think he gets it done. But an incredibly close fight, though. But yeah, I think Holloway gets it done, and who knows, maybe we see a 4 fight between these two. It would be wouldn't be surprising. These two are clearly the two best featherweights in the world, so yeah, it would be a great one. But yeah, I think Holloway gets this one. And then moving on to the main event for the middleweight championship, Israel Adesanya and Jared Cannonier. Probably the only guy really who Adesanya hasn't fought. You know, he's beaten Costa, Whittaker, Vettori, Brunson. He's walked through the whole division, beat Romero, obviously. There's so many guys that Adesanya's just gone through, and at this point, I think he needs a challenge to really bring the best out of him, bring that dog out of him. I don't think Cannonier is that guy, but I do think there are some guys on the up who could do that. I would, like I said, the Pereira fight would be interesting, but yeah, I think first of all with Adesanya, obviously his last fight beat Whittaker. Some people thought Whittaker won, but I still maintain that. I mean, Adesanya did enough in that fight, and you know, if you go through his other ones, the Vettori fight, not good. It was pretty easy for him, just leg kicked him, and he's been getting some criticism recently for being a bit boring, Adesanya, but he's doing what he needs to do. Ultimately, it's the fight. His other fighters dropped to make those adjustments. If you are just going to stand there and accept getting leg kicked the whole fight, that's your problem. You need to try and do something. You need to try and give him something to think about, and neither of these guys, Costa, Vettori, Whittaker, ever did. Blachowicz gave him something. Blachowicz checked the kicks, was able to take him down, and to me, I think if you're Cannonier physically, maybe you may be able to do that. Cannonier is a real tough guy, very likeable guy, very powerful, scary guy, but the problem with a lot of these guys in the middleweight division, a lot of them have holes, significant holes in the striking. The best one's probably Whittaker, you know, maybe that Adesanya fought. And even he had it, you know, Adesanya was able to catch him down the middle in the second fight with that shot, and even obviously in the first knocked him out. You know, Costa was a good fighter, but fought with pressure, and Adesanya was just able to pick him apart and just made him look foolish. You know, with Vettori, his striking was alright, but it was never anything spectacular, and just takedowns, and he just wasn't able to really do much to Adesanya. And the last one against, not last one, who am I thinking? Oh no, actually, yeah, the last one against Whittaker, obviously he showed glimpses, but still wasn't able to do much. And then guys like Brunson, who obviously weren't there. Darren Till obviously could do something maybe with the striking, but he just finds holes in your striking if you try to go up with him. And because I think because Blachowicz's power gave him something to think about, and in fairness, I think Cannonier hits harder than Costa. I think he hits harder than Whittaker and Vettori, so I think it will be a tough one in terms of the power. I think if he catches Adesanya, he will go, but it's hard for Cannonier. I think Cannonier obviously knocked out Brunson in the last fight, put in a brilliant performance, and was looking a bit mad. The fact that he got dropped by Brunson is just what I mean when I say his striking is just very sloppy. He's not the cleanest, and I think that's the problem when you've got a guy like Adesanya who's so slick and so good at range. I think it's a hard one for him, and yeah, Cannonier could get it done. I could see him knocking Adesanya out. As in MMA, it's more so this than in boxing. In boxing, you have a puncher's chance, but really that it's hard to land that shot. Really, in MMA, it's more likely that you can knock someone out on an off chance. And you know, if you watch the Adesanya Alex Pereira fight, when Adesanya got knocked out, Adesanya was doing good in that fight, but ultimately got caught, and he has that tendency, Adesanya, so I could see that happening with Cannonier. Cannonier is very powerful, he's huge. His grappling will be big in this. Cannonier trying to mix it up, like I think doing what Whittaker didn't do. I think you need that inner belief against Adesanya. You need to really believe you can win, and I think Cannonier has to go in there with that mindset of just doing nothing but just trying to come out with the victory. So yeah, I'm going to say I think that's Cannonier's way. I think just mixing it up. I don't think there's a clear blueprint. I know Blachowicz showed a bit of it, but Blachowicz showed that he could strike Blachowicz and he could mix up the grappling, and I think that's what gave him the win, and as well as the size. So there is a blueprint there, but it's not a blueprint that I don't think these guys have got the skill set to emulate what Blachowicz did. So this is why I think it's been comfortable for Adesanya. I think he does need to finish Adesanya, and these people are getting onto him. He's a brilliant fighter. He's creative, but recently just sort of staying at range and leg kicking. I think people want to see a bit more excitement, but that can only come if somebody brings it at times. So, yeah. But an interesting fight, and I think I've kind of given away. But for my prediction, I just think Adesanya wins this. I think he keeps it at range. I think will do the leg kicks, but what I think will happen, I think Kanye will come in at a point with a bit of desperation. And I do think that is when... And I do think Adesanya will finish him in this one. For two reasons. One, because he needs to, because everybody's on him, and I think he will try and go a bit more for that finish and throw a bit more with his punches and his kicks. And I also think with Kanye, he can leave himself open. Brunson was able to drop him. So I think if Kanye, there will be a point where I think maybe Kanye might see an opening and Adesanya will almost bait him a little bit. And I think that's where Adesanya will catch him and I think stop Kanye. And this will be his... Costa Whitaker Vittori. Fifth title defense? I don't know. Let me see. I'm pretty sure it'll be his fifth title defense. So he's definitely racking up his title defenses at 32. He's doing a lot. Pretty sure it's his fifth. Yeah, so obviously beat Costa. Sorry. Right, it'll be his fifth title defense then. And it shows you, and Kanye, to his credit, at 38, he's still gone very, very strong. That's what I was saying about Pereira, how no matter what age you're at, if you can just keep your physical levels up there, you can hang in there with the best of them. And Kanye's fantastic, but I don't know, I think he'll just need he'll need to fight either a perfect game plan or he'll need to find that killer shot, and I just don't think the killer shot, I think, is more likely than him fighting perfectly. Kanye, as good as he is, isn't really a fighter who... not like he doesn't make mistakes in there. He does make mistakes, and I think that's where Adesanya will capitalise on them. And yeah, I think he will find that finish. I think he needs to finish. I think fans are getting onto a bit, but yeah, I do think he'll get the one finished. I think it's a bit unfair, this criticism. He is an elite fighter, elite kickboxer, a brilliant striker, and yeah, to me, I think he'll get this one done via KO in the third round. I can see, Kanye jumping in and just missing by an inch. Adesanya catching him with either an overhand right, a short right hook, or just something. I could see him catching him with a short shot and kind of just picking it apart at range. A little bit like what happened on his debut, where he hurt the guy and was able to sort of stay on him and sustain the pressure. And because of how people have been getting onto him, I do think if he hurts him, he won't just be calm. I think he will try and get him out of there. So yeah, should be a great fight though. It should be an interesting one. I think Kanye can definitely give Adesanya some problems though. But I just think Adesanya will just have a bit too much for him. But yeah, a great fight and a great card really coming up. UFC have been slacking recently with some of their pay-per-views and some of their fight nights, but this is a good one and I'm excited to see what happens in this one. And yeah, just my thoughts. UFC 276 in, I think the T-Mobile Arena, I think it is in Las Vegas. So yeah, an interesting fight. But just my thoughts on the card, and yeah, until next time.